This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. If you're watching this in the future, the Browns preseason is over. And we're here to talk about what happened in week 3 of the Browns preseason game versus the Seattle Seahawks. Now let's address the elephant in the room. It was kind of a bait and switch, right? We were told that the Browns were going to be playing starters in this game. And they did play some starters in this game. I counted like 5 real starters that played. I know some people count like Devin Bush as a starter or like Justin Hardy as a start. I counted 5 actual starters, right? 3 offensive linemen, the center, the right guard, the right tackle. And then Grant Delpit. And I think Juan Thornhill played a little bit. Maybe Juan Thornhill played a little bit. Outside of that, no other starters played. We thought starters were playing. They did not. We thought Deshaun Watson was going to play. He did not. They had a last-minute change of heart for whatever reason. Maybe it was injury concerns. And they pulled a lot of the guys that you thought would play. Jerry Jeudy didn't play. I think Elijah Moore did play. But Jerry Jeudy didn't. Obviously, Amari Cooper, David Njoku, all those guys did not play. So you didn't get a chance to see Deshaun Watson. You did get an extended look at Jameis Winston. You got a good look at DTR. And we're going to talk about what we felt from those players. But it was disappointing that you didn't get a look at any semblance of the Browns' first team so far in the preseason. But I do walk away from this game encouraged. Much more so than I think I've been with any of these preseason games or with camp so far. I'll walk away encouraged by the bones of the offense that we were able to see. When Jameis Winston was out there, his first drive was against the starting defensive unit of the Seattle Seahawks. That drive went just about as good as you would expect, right? They really did a good job of pressuring the left side of the Browns offensive line, which did not have starters in. They were playing Jermaine Ifedi and Zach Zinter, and Zach Zinter gave up a couple pressures that turned into sacks. Pretty predictable. I also think Zach Zinter got a penalty that set him behind the sticks on one of these drives as well. Wasn't a great day for him, but yeah, the Browns' second unit did not look good against the Seahawks' first unit. I don't find that to be very surprising. The Browns' defense, which again did not play that many starters, gave up a couple big plays versus the Seahawks' first team, and the Seahawks scored a touchdown. Not really overly concerned. The big play was on Khalif Elise on a slot fade on cover 1. We've been there before. That just is what it is. When it's Khalif Elise, and I believe the touchdown was given up on somebody who, I think it was Justin Hardy that gave up the touchdown. Either way, not overly concerned about the Browns giving up a touchdown or anything. Again, it's not like the ones played or even close to the ones played. But what I am encouraged by is what we saw after those first 2 drives. After those first 2 drives, Jameis Winston had a nice drive that got all the way down to the 20 on some of Seattle's starters with the second team, which was very encouraging. The Browns were able to get a chunk play to Cedric Tillman, and Cedric Tillman did look very good in this game, which was encouraging. And then the Browns were able to almost put points, but you know how it is in the preseason. Kevin Stefanski likes to go for it. So they didn't end up putting up points, but if it were a regular season game, Kevin would have likely taken the points in that situation. Then DTR got out there with Jamari Thrash. And it goes without saying, Jamari Thrash is probably the player of this preseason. Like, I think he is the star of this preseason for this year. He played pretty well. Another thing that happened in Jameis's drive and that happened for pretty much the rest of the game was that the Browns are pretty consistently able to get 3 to 4 yards on a run at will. It's one of the biggest things I wanted to see the Browns do. They were able to do it at a pretty high level. Also, in that first half, when you had Jameis out there and you had DTR out there, no turnovers. I don't think the Browns they haven't played a first team. I don't think the Browns have really turned the ball much over when they had DTR out there. So good on DTR for not turning the ball over. But overall, haven't had a ton of turnovers in the preseason. Again, it's the preseason. Doesn't really mean much, but it's just nice to see after how much this team struggled with the turnovers last year. DTR goes out there with Jamari Thrash, and you're seeing more chunk plays. You're seeing them able to get 20 yards on a pop. You're seeing them able to run the ball pretty consistently at will. You're seeing Jamari Thrash get wide open down the field and DTR throw him a nice deep ball. And what I saw from DTR in this game was some of the most encouraging stuff that I've seen from DTR in his career so far. So much so that I have to say that I have been moved again by DTR. And if you follow me on this channel, I have gone up and down with DTR. I thought people were kind of overrating him and getting overly excited about him during his preseason run. Then he played, and I thought, hey, there's some potential there, and I think there was something to dig out of there. Then I rewatched what he did this year, and then I wasn't sold on it. And now I'm seeing him in the preseason, and a lot of the issues that I had with DTR stem from his inability to throw the ball downfield. I had a cut up in one of my videos about DTR, I think it was in the Denver game, of DTR trying to throw the ball downfield 40 yards and how much effort he had to put into the throw to get it 40 yards downfield. And then had it cut up next to PJ Walker, and it was laughable how much easier it was for PJ Walker to get the ball downfield than DTR. It was laughable. Absolutely laughable how easy it was. But that was the case. That was what was going on with DTR. That was how difficult it was for DTR to get the ball downfield. What I've seen from DTR this preseason is somebody who has clearly, obviously, and definitively improved in his ability to throw the ball downfield. My biggest gripe with DTR is that he could throw the ball really hard, but he can't seem to translate that to downfield throwing power. What I saw in this game was legitimate downfield throwing power with touch and accuracy downfield. I mean, this is a world of difference. Now, look, he was abysmal last year throwing the ball downfield. He is no longer abysmal. He has made a leap there where I'm like, I'll watch him in the preseason, and it's not the same as the regular season, right? It wouldn't look as good against starters. Well, I watch him in the preseason this year, and I'm like, okay, he's significantly better at throwing that ball downfield. Now, I don't know why that is. It looks like he's gotten a little bit stronger over the offseason. Maybe that's been the case. Maybe he's worked on some technique, some stretching. I don't know. But he seemed to have figured something out to where he can get that ball downfield with significantly less effort than it took for him to get the ball downfield earlier. I'm moved by this. Now, the one area where DTR does need to improve is he speeds himself up too much. Because he's a great athlete, because he's so capable of moving so quickly, sometimes I think DTR makes the mistake of trying to move too quickly. There's a lot of times where I watch DTR and I think to myself, man, he just needs to give himself half a beat. Like, he's rushing, he's pressing, he knows they're blitzing, he wants to get rid of the ball quickly, and he does get rid of the ball quickly, but he's in such a rush that he rushes his mechanics and he ends up throwing a bad football. I don't think that has to be the case for DTR. I think he can slow himself down, be a little bit more confident, know that he has that extra quarter second to set his feet and get that ball out, and he could be a better player. If he gets to that point of comfort, then you're really talking about somebody who could replace Jameis Winston as the backup quarterback, and also somebody who, who knows down the line, maybe for the Browns, maybe for somebody else, could push for a starting job depending on the situation. I'm impressed with what I've seen from DTR. And as somebody who would have been okay with trading him for like a fifth and some change, I'm moved to the corner of, nah, I'm fine. I'm just gonna keep DTR. I'll see what he is next year, right? But I'm gonna keep DTR. So good on DTR. Thought he's had a great preseason. He's deserved that. Jamari Thrash, feel like he's been the star of the preseason. Every preseason game we've been talking about Jamari Thrash. I like him. I liked him when I watched him in the Senior Bowl. I liked him when I saw him at Georgia State. I liked him when I see him in Cleveland. I think there's a good player there. Now, how good? I don't want to get carried away. I know a lot of times we get carried away with young players and we think they're going to be the best possible version of whatever player they resemble. But I think there's a good player there. I think after this year, next year, he could challenge for the spot that Elijah Moore has on the roster. I think there is some limited use for him this year, which is very good for a 5th-round pick. I think there's a real player there. I like Jamari Thrash. I like him a lot. So, super excited to see him playing well. Super excited for Cedric Tillman. Now, the big test for Cedric Tillman is going to be in games. The quarterback's going to be making adjustments. He's going to be relying on you to be where you're supposed to be. That's the stuff with Cedric Tillman that you're not going to see until the regular season. But what I've seen in the preseason has been pretty encouraging from Cedric Tillman. You would expect it. He was pretty impressive last year in the preseason, but still, got to point it out when it's there. He's been pretty impressive so far this preseason. But overall, from what I saw in this game, I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged that the Browns' offensive line held up significantly better than they did last week. I'm encouraged that the Browns' run game had life to it. I'm encouraged at how the passing game looked, both from a structural standpoint and the type of formations they were going out there and the type of plays they were going out there with, and from the execution standpoint. I'm impressed and encouraged with the lack of procedural penalties that the Browns were getting from especially non-rookies or any of the starters. I'm encouraged. I like what I saw. If this is the closest to a real preview of this Browns team that we're going to get, this is a good football team. Now, again, a lot of the players who make this a good football team aren't playing right now in the preseason. And the Browns have made it known that they expect to have a few players back. I believe one of those players plays tackle. Also, somebody else is in that mix. So the Browns will have some starters back to come back versus the Dallas Cowboys, who are going through their own issues at this point. You know, Deron Bland, I believe he just got announced as out for the first 8 weeks of the season. I think this Browns team, if this defense starts as good as I think they will be, and I think they will, and again, in the preseason, we saw, 35 players benched the first game, 39 the second game, and this week, I think the Browns sat 30 players. So we haven't got a real glimpse of this first team. We've seen some of it, but we haven't seen a real glimpse of it. I think once we see that starting unit, we're going to really be encouraged because we're going to remember how good this team is. But even this, from watching this, from getting a little bit more of the starters out there, I'm pretty encouraged with what I have seen from this game in the Cleveland Browns. And it's not just this game that makes me encouraged. The bulk of what makes me encouraged is what the Browns accomplished last year. That is the bulk, the basis, and why everybody should be excited about this team is what they were able to accomplish last year, especially defensively. And the fact that they're returning a lot of those players. But I'm encouraged. I know a lot of people had bad vibes. I felt the bad vibes coming in. I feel much better. You know, I made the joke in one of my videos. All it's going to take is like a 40-yard Jamari Thrash touchdown or something like that, and we're going to be all right. And that touchdown happened, and I've been feeling all right since. Now the Browns prepare to go and play the Dallas Cowboys. I'm excited. I like the Browns' chances in that game. If this offense looks from a structural standpoint how they look today with some more wrinkles, because obviously against the Dallas Cowboys with Deshaun Watson, I'm excited to see what that looks like. I know a lot of people are down on Deshaun because they haven't been able to see him. But I would not be ready to close the door on him. I think there is a good chance that he could put together a really solid season for this team, if not a great season for this team. If this offensive line holds up, if this run game is there, we know that Deontay Foreman did leave this game with an injury, but he was apparently fine on the sidelines after the injury. So seems like no big deal there. We'll find out tomorrow. I'm encouraged with where this team is, and I'm excited about the next 2 weeks. And I got a ton of stuff planned, ton of different variety of things planned. We're going to talk about it all. Game plan for the week 1, some history of the Browns. So make sure you're locked in. Make sure you subscribe. But that's all I got about my reaction to this game. Y'all hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.